Hello everybody, it's Sherry from the CGH Health Foundation and welcome back to my kitchen for another recipe from our What's Cooking CGH series. It is October and so it is pumpkin spice season, which a lot of people really look forward to. It's also Women's Health Month and so I'm going to show you a recipe today that kind of combines both ideas and I'll tell you why. So some people who know me, you know that my mother died of breast cancer. And so it's always been very important to me to try to do whatever I can to reduce my breast cancer risk. And a lot of that has to do with diet, has to do with exercise, has to do with watching my weight. And today's recipe kind of gets at the nutritional part of it. And almost every ingredient has some aspect of being a cancer fighting food. And so pumpkin, and I'm going to start off with a canned pumpkin, which I think is highly underrated as a food. I mean, you might have a few cans in your pantry right now and you're probably saving it to use for pumpkin pie, or maybe you make a pumpkin bread. But this can is really packed full of great nutrition and can be used to make so many other kinds of things. I personally like to take a can of pumpkin. I usually make 3 or 4 days worth of oatmeal at a time. And I like to mix like a whole can of pumpkin into 4 servings of oatmeal and add my pumpkin pie spice to that. Really good that way, so you get like a pumpkin pie spiced oatmeal. You can use it to make soups and chilies. There's lots of great recipes for pumpkin soup and for pumpkin-based chilies. You can use it for pasta sauce and pasta fillings like raviolis. One of my very favorite pastas is a pumpkin-filled ravioli with a sage sauce on it. So it's really very versatile. And a lot of the pumpkin that we buy that says canned pumpkin might not actually be pumpkin. It's actually a squash probably, and I think the Libby company actually grows their own variety of squash for canned pumpkin. But it doesn't really matter, because what's important with the pumpkin or the squash is the color. It's that orange color. I'm going to start cooking and then I'll talk a little bit more about it. So I'm going to start off with a 1/2 cup of canned pumpkin. So what I'm making today is a pumpkin spice energy bite. So this is one of those other ways that you can use canned pumpkin. And I call these my cancer fighting energy bites, pumpkin bites. So about a 1/2 cup of canned pumpkin in the bowl first. So the orange color of pumpkin and squash and carrots, etc., indicates beta-carotene. And beta-carotene is a potent antioxidant. Antioxidants are one of those substances in food that help to protect against cell damage. And in particular, beta-carotene and breast cancers, beta-carotene kind of hunts down the breast cancer. And protects the cells. So it's a great addition for women to the diet, any kind of high beta carotene food. I'm going to add a 1/4 cup of maple syrup. So sugar is not such a great food for cancer. We want to keep our sugar intake very low. Sugar promotes inflammation. Inflammation promotes cell damage, and so just a little bit of sweetener for this. I'm using maple syrup, but not very much sugar of any kind in our diet. Okay, so after the maple syrup, I'm going to go ahead and add a teaspoon of pumpkin pie spice. So here's a bonus recipe for you. So the pumpkin pie spice, I make my own pumpkin pie spice. I know you can buy it, just about anywhere. But I make my own pumpkin pie spice, and it's really good, and I can make a ton of it and use it in my oatmeal and all kinds of things like that. And so the bonus recipe for you, if you want to make a nice batch, so this whole little jar, is 3 teaspoons of cinnamon, got 2 teaspoons of ground ginger, 2 teaspoons of nutmeg, a teaspoon of allspice, and a teaspoon of ground clove. So those are the ingredients for the pumpkin pie spice. Make sure I didn't forget anything. 3 tablespoons of cinnamon, 2 teaspoons of ginger, 2 teaspoons of nutmeg, 1 teaspoon of allspice, and 1 teaspoon of cloves. I'm only going to use a teaspoon of the total mixture in the bites today. But oh my gosh, it smells wonderful. And guess what? Spices are also potent antioxidants. So the spicier the food, the better, as far as I'm concerned. And so, excuse me, here, I'm going to combine these together. I'm going to add a teaspoon of vanilla, and that I don't think has any particular medicinal properties, but it makes it taste good, so we'll add it in there. And vanilla can kind of enhance the sweetness of foods like this without actually increasing the sugar content, so it's a good one to grab for. So those ingredients, I'm going to mix them all in the bowl. And then here come the dry ingredients, all right? We're going to do a cup of quick oats. Oatmeal, again, the best property in oatmeal, probably that's a cancer protector, is the fiber. Women in particular, men both, actually should be eating a really high fiber diet. As it pertains to breast cancer, fiber helps to drag excess estrogen down the digestive tract, the small intestine, into the colon. If you didn't have fiber in the diet, that estrogen that you get from eating foods that contain estrogen, animal foods, would kind of sit there and then be reabsorbed. And high estrogen is a risk factor for breast cancer risk. So we want to keep a good high fiber diet to help protect against our cancers. The next ingredient I'm going to put in is flaxseed meal. And this is going to be 1/3 cup of flaxseed meal. So seeds are very high in nutrition. Flaxseed meal is one of the best sources of a plant polyphenol called lignans. And lignans have been studied for breast cancer and have shown to reduce women's risk of breast cancer. So I encourage people to add ground flaxseed meal to their diet. And in fact, I consume it almost every day. I put it in my oatmeal or I bake with it. I use it as an egg replacer. So here is another way that you can get that ground flaxseed meal into your diet. So those are the basic ingredients. I'm going to add a couple of bonus things. I've got 1/2 cup of toasted chopped pecans. And so I took pecan halves and put them on a cookie sheet in the oven at 375 for just about 5 minutes to get them just lightly toasted. And then I chopped them with my little food processor. You can buy chopped pecans, but if you try to toast those in the oven, you got to really watch them like a hawk because they will burn up really fast. I prefer to buy the whole pecan halves. Nuts, again, when it comes to your cancer risk, fiber there, okay, healthy fat, and they also are a great source of antioxidants, again, so those cell protectors. The last thing I'm going to throw in is about 1/3 cup of dried cranberries. And dried cranberries almost always have a lot of sugar added, so I make sure I buy the reduced sugar dried cranberries. They almost need to have a little bit of sugar because they are very tart. If you don't mind things very tart, you could try to look for unsweetened dried cranberries. I haven't had very good luck in finding those anywhere, but they really add a ton of flavor to these bites, and I like them. If you do not like cranberries, you could put in raisins. That would be a lower sugar alternative. And I'm just trying to get everything incorporated here. Didn't take long. Okay. So when I make treats like this, if I'm baking cookies or making treats, I like to use my little cookie scoop. And if you don't have one of these, you should look for one. The one I'm using today is about 1.5 inches is the size of the cookie scoop. And this helps you to keep your size of your portions really, really even. And so I'm gonna just really pack it into the cookie scoop and drop it here on my cookie sheet. Make sure you can see it here. Portion out a few of these so you can see what they look like. Now you could just leave them like this. They're kind of rustic looking. If you want them to be a little prettier and round balls like you find them in the health food stores that sell them, with your very, very clean hands or even plastic gloves, you could give them a little bit of a roll and smooth out the edges there. And these don't have to be baked or anything. They're eaten just as is. They're raw. Every ingredient in there was cooked, so you don't have to worry about having any uncooked ingredients that are going to spoil. You can store them in the refrigerator or in the freezer. They really would only be good for a few days in the refrigerator, so if you're not going to eat them right away, I would stick them in the freezer. And they are wonderful. I have one that I made a little earlier that has been chilling. I'm going to give it a taste. Yum. That is so good. All the flavors of fall, the nuts, the cranberries, the pumpkin. I hope you like these. I hope you'll try them. And remember that we have a lot of control over our cancer risk. Follow a healthy diet, get enough exercise, don't smoke, watch your alcohol, and we'll see you next time.